Welcome back. In this video, we're going to continue our guide to getting started with file query and show you how to go beyond just viewing a file, but querying it as well. File query lets you treat a file like it's already in a database, and we'll demonstrate this by doing a few simple searches through the file. Under the Find menu, you'll see the Find Lines Where function, which is your go-to function when you're looking for something specific within a file. We'll start by finding a specific value within a field, such as N9, within the response code field. To do so, we simply select the field to search and then enter the value to search for. Hit enter, and you can see that only records with the response code of N9 were selected. To find records where a certain field is empty, it's just as easy. Let's find records with a missing zip code by selecting the field and then a comparison of is empty. This is better than just checking whether it's equal to an empty value, because we'll match any value that's completely empty or is just white space. Also notice the reverse option, which changes your comparison to not empty instead of is empty. The reverse works for any comparison from contains all the way down. These comparisons are great for doing loose matching and are pretty straightforward. The in and the like functions could use some explanation though. In looks for any field that's in a comma separated list of other values. So you could look for any state that's either Maine or New Hampshire. The like function allows you to compare a field to a regular expression, allowing you to match to a pattern instead of a specific value. Regular expressions are beyond the scope of this video, but the contains, ends with, and starts with functions let you easily do what most people would use the like function for anyways, so this is more for the advanced users. Another nice feature that some people miss is that you can also search against the entire line instead of just a field by selecting line from the top of the field list. This is most helpful when paired with the contains comparison function, because you can search for any line that contains text regardless of what field it might be in. Now, when loading a file like this, it's common to have certain fields contain values that are larger than what's allowed in the database, which can break the load. File query makes it easy to find these values and check if the data is bad or if the database field needs to be expanded. Let's see this by finding all last names that are greater than 8 characters. Again, we select the field to check, and then we check the field modifier of length, which means we're now checking the length of the field instead of the value itself. We have comparison of greater than, a value of 8, and we can see that only records with last name greater than 8 characters are selected. There are a few more quick options I want to go over from this function, as well as some that exist in all the functions. Now, all the searches we've done so far have had a single comparison, but as you can see, you can combine up to 3 comparisons together, and you can make it so that either all have to be true or only one has to be. Once the records have been found, you can have options for what to select. By default, it's the entire line, but you can also view just individual fields by giving a comma separated list of the field indexes. You can find the indexes in the field list on the left, which can also be sorted just like the one in the main screen. You can also have the line number included with each result record if you want to know where in the file each one came from. And last, at the bottom, you'll see 2 options that are in every function. The first one allows you to read in just a portion of the file and then stop, which is useful for testing a query out before running through a large file, or if you just want to find a few examples of something. The second option, checked by default, tells the function to run as soon as you hit OK. You may want to uncheck this at times when you want to modify the generated query before running it. A separate video will go over the details of how to modify queries and why you might want to. There are 3 more functions under the Find menu, but they're much simpler. Let's take a quick look at the Find Character Type function. This function is a good example of using regular expressions to match a pattern or type of data. It contains multiple simple formats that you can search for, as well as letting you pick a custom one. The most common use for this is to search for values within a numeric field that contain non-numeric data, which would break a load to the database. If we check the customer ID field for any, we won't get back any results, which means that the data is safe to load to a number field. Next is the View End of File function, which does just what it says and doesn't have any options. It just displays the end of the file, but it doesn't have to read through the entire file to get there, so it can display it immediately. This is great for if you have a large multi-gig file and just want to look at the trailer record. And the last one, View Section, just lets you go to any record in a file and then read in a certain number of lines after it, or the rest of the file. This is great if you know exactly what line you want to look at, or if you just want to look at a larger preview of the file than the 100 lines read in by default. You can also select either the entire line or individual fields. Selecting individual fields is helpful for when you want to compare two or more fields side by side, but they are placed far apart in the file. You can select just the fields you want, and they will be side by side in the results. This video only touched the surface of what File Query can do. In the next video, we'll go over functions that help you analyze your file to see what type of data it really contains.